Okay, here we are. We're going down into the shop area again. As you can see, there's a bunch of stuff stacked outside the shop now. The reorganization of work that's going on, it continues. The recreation room now has piles of stuff that I'm going through to decide what stays and what needs a new home. But of course the workbench has been put away that was out here, but some of the other stuff's still out here. There's power tools lined up waiting for their new home to appear. I've got a bunch of planes and stuff sitting out on the card table. And the storage that was in the shop is now located out here in the rec room, so it should be a little bit easier to deal with in the shop anyway. So let's step into the shop and see what's going on. By the way, this whole video is based on stuff that Deami Klocky's been doing for a while now, and I found it's very motivating to just go through and take videos and talk about the changes that are happening. It gives me a lot of motivation to keep making the changes and making the progress I need to make. So my sharpening station that was over on the far walls now sort of condensed onto the floor here. Some of it's underneath the workbench, and up on top of the workbench is the top of the table that'll be the sharpening station. Yeah, I just finished gluing the two big halves together. I've been doing it in pairs as we go up. In front of it is a set of Portamate machine tray or machine rolling stand. I found that I needed to do that as I was going through and doing the work on the tabletop. The base of my jointer began to delaminate on one end, and it's all MDF, so I expected it to go after a while. But as I get down here, you can see it's bent pretty badly at that end because the MDF has basically started to separate. Everything else is pretty much where it was before. There's been some straightening up on this wall also. The chest that was over here that had miscellaneous stuff in it now has all of the carving tools for both the hand carving and the power carving. So as I go through and have specific things that I need to do, I can just roll this out into place and get it going. I still have some cleanup work to do on the top to set up for the power carving station, but it's getting there. As we come around to the rest of the shop, the toolbox that I have is now mounted on top of the box that I built to carry all the hand planes around with. And that hand plane box has been mounted up on wheels because it just was too darn heavy to lug around when it was loaded. I'm going to have to rebuild something, either the top box or the bottom box, so that they're the same width. Right now they're a little bit cockeyed. It's probably going to be a narrower tool chest, simply because it's easier to port around if it's a few inches less wide. Unfortunately, the reason it's so wide is the panel saws that I use need to fit inside it when it's closed, and while those are my favorite panel saws, they are full size, so I'm seriously considering getting a pair of smaller size crosscut and rip saws to store inside it, or just carry these two in a leather case, which is another project that's in the offing that may take place in the next month or so. The table saw and router table. The router table still, of course, has a bunch of stuff piled on it. I'll be getting through that and getting stuff put away as I get different parts of the shop reorganized. The old grinder is been taken off the stand. There's a new grinder that needs to get installed, but I haven't got to it yet. I'm hoping that doesn't take too much longer. The lathe has been moved over into the corner, along with the lathe supplies and the tools. There's going to be some reorganization that takes place over in this corner also. I need to be able to get at those tools when I'm turning. I don't want to have to reach across the lathe, of course. That would be a good way to get hurt. And that wall is where the sharpening station's going to go. So that's basically going to get left open until I get that table put together. Be over there. I need it next to the sink over there because I use the water for most of my sharpening. All the sanding stations have been clumped together back in this corner where the storage used to be, and all of the sanding stations have been linked together now with dust collection which is joined together on a dust collection hose on the floor. Every dust collector now has a blast gate right at the tool, which will make it a lot easier to actually turn the tool on and make sure the dust collection's on. One of the problems I had when those were sitting around free was basically that the dust collector may or may not be available, but because it wasn't actually hooked up to the machines, I wouldn't use it. The wood storage was cleaned up. That was in one of the high-speed videos I did. I've already used up all the cherry on, pretty much all the cherry on one of the shelves as part of the tabletop. I've got very little storage back in that corner now, thankfully. And over by the door is pretty wide open now. You can get in and out of the shop without too much trouble. There's no clutter right there by the door, which was a real problem before. At any rate, that's the shop tour for this month. And hopefully it'll be cleaned up to the next stage in time for next month. And again, a call out to Diami Plotke. Thanks for putting these videos together on your shop for over the past couple of years. They've been a real motivation to me.